Lovely.
So I'm going to take the opportunity to thank everybody for joining the call this morning, California time. It's in the afternoon, late afternoon, I guess, in Europe. So good afternoon to some of you. Good morning to some of you. Thank you for joining this call about the HPV Awareness Campaign for March 4th, 2020. We have some exciting things to show you, and the purpose of this call is to orient you around what we're going to be doing, and then take the opportunity to answer questions and have a discussion. So first and foremost, again, thank you to our partners. This webinar is really about our partners because the campaign is performed by our partners, and without the partners, we have no campaign. And so a giant welcome and thank you for what you're doing. We're here to help you, and what I want to talk about in the next few minutes is how we're hoping to do that. This slide shows some of, not all, but some of the key members of our awareness campaign for 2020. On the left, you can see our president for IPVS, Margaret Stanley, and Jose Geronimo is a board member of IPVS who's been working on this with me, and there's me there on the right. And what I want to do this morning is talk about the background of the campaign, what we're trying to do, and then tell you about our 2020 theme, which is entitled Viral Before the Internet. We'll talk a little bit about what's in the toolkit and how you can use it, and then we'll take some questions and answers. So, campaign background and objectives. I think I'm in a good position to discuss this since this was actually one of my babies. The idea for this campaign came up while I was in the last year of my past presidency of IPVS, when I was discussing with Kenneth how I felt that there were campaigns focused on specific HPV-related diseases, mostly cervical cancer, but there was very little information on HPV itself. I felt that was very important because if you understand about HPV, you understand about a broader ranges of diseases, cervical cancer, of course, but many of the other important diseases such as head and neck and anal cancer, vulvar, vaginal. But also, when you understand about the virus, it makes more sense and perhaps incentivizes people to take some of the actions that can be done to prevent the consequences of the virus, namely vaccination if you're young enough and if you're older to get screened. The virus, HPV, is the entity that links us all. And by emphasizing how common it is and how we are all affected by HPV directly or indirectly, the idea is to normalize it and destigmatize it. It's always been amazing to me, even in, say, members of my own family, who I consider them to be pretty well educated, how shocked they are whenever they see the data that that we present to them. So I think what we thought as the International Papillomavirus Society is that we had a unique contribution to make by putting together a campaign that was focused quite specifically on making people aware of HPV, with the important goal then of stimulating people to get more information to then take action to prevent the various diseases that we're all very familiar with. So based on that, 2 years ago, we put together a pilot campaign, which was structured in such a way as to put out pieces of information that were not meant to be, strictly speaking, very informational, but rather to grab attention. This was in the form of videos, in the form of posters, in the form of tweets, various kinds of social media outreach, grab people's attention when they see the word HPV and some catchy visuals, to drive them to other information sources that would give them more specific information, and more importantly, to-do lists, things that they could do to minimize their risk. So, yes. Did somebody have a question, or was somebody going to say something?
I guess someone was willing to join, probably.
Okay.
This is Dr. Chong. I just got in. Okay.
Oh, hi, Yulin. How are you?
Go ahead, Joe.
We just got started. Welcome.
Okay. Go ahead.
Really the heart of the campaign is the back end, the part that we're not talking about so much this morning. The purpose, our job, is to get people to want to access the information, and to talk about it, and ultimately talk about it to their government representatives and policymakers, the people who are instrumental in making change where it needs to be made. So we at IPVS have created a series of FAQs that are designed to give information to specific demographics, male, female, different ages, because the prevention options, of course, vary according to gender, sex of birth, and the age of the person. But while that's really, really important, the partners play a really key role here, because something else that we're all very aware of is that the situations, cultural backgrounds, resources, all of these things vary enormously in different places around the world. And if we're trying to do this on a global basis, which we are the International Papillomavirus Society, our goal is to partner with people such as yourselves, who know your constituencies much better than us, to use the information and resources that we're providing, but also customize it in a way that makes sense for your setting. So the heart and soul of the campaign really is the partnerships that we're creating to carry out the campaign. And that's what we'll be talking a little bit more about this morning. So again, why did we create the campaign? It's because HPV is a serious health problem, and our data and data we've seen from others suggest that a shockingly small proportion of people really know about HPV, and they don't know how they are affected by it. We all know that it's one of the most common cancers. About 1 in 20 cancers around the world are caused by HPV. Well more than 500,000 people every year die of it, and it's preventable. So I think it's our collective obligation to do whatever we can to try and prevent that. So I believe that awareness, education, and telling the truth are the first steps towards mobilizing action to stop HPV. So we have now entered our third campaign, and our goal all along has been to learn as we're going along, because to our knowledge, something like this has never been undertaken before. Talking about HPV is very sensitive. It brings up a lot of issues. Some communities are not well positioned to talk about it openly. Others are to a greater degree. And it's somewhat challenging to achieve a goal of putting something out that gets people interested, but at the same time offends as few people as possible. That is not something that's always possible, but we think we're getting better and better. As you can see, in 2018, our first campaign theme was "Give Love, Not HPV," and I think that grabbed a lot of attention. There were some areas around the world which were a little bit uncomfortable about that. So in 2019, we de-emphasized the love part, even though we loved it. And the hashtag for the campaign, which is still the same this year, is Ask About HPV. That's really, again, our goal. but the theme was Uncover the Most Viral Secret. We're trying to play upon words here, obviously, HPV's virus, and people understand the concept of going viral. It's an internet term, of course. Now, I'm a little bit on the older side, and I was wondering how such a viral internet sort of theme would play out in people who are, say, over 30 or 40 years old. It's clear that that will resonate with just about everybody under the age of 30. It certainly resonates with me, but I'm relatively computer savvy. But our goal here is to reach all kinds of demographics, men, women, of various socioeconomic backgrounds, etc. And one of the things that became clear to me in working with some of the people who are helping us design this campaign is that a very high proportion of people in the world, regardless of their age, actually has access to a cell phone and uses the internet. Obviously not everybody, but a very high proportion. And that this idea of alluding to internet themes actually is more universal than I had originally imagined. So with that, we kept that idea. Then for 2020, the day that's going to be coming up is March 4th. We kept hashtag ask about HPV. But the theme is a little bit different. It's just a different play on words. Viral before the internet, emphasizing that HPV has been around long before the internet and will be around for a very long time until we can achieve our ultimate goals of elimination. So what the campaign is basically building on some of the things that we've learned over the previous 2 years. The first year, I think, was quite well received overall, but we had a limited budget and relatively limited experience, but still, I think, achieved quite a lot for the first go-around. The second go-around in 2019 was even more successful. We greatly increased the number of people who we reached. There were more activities in the various countries that we have targeted. Of course, we're interested in reaching everybody, but we do have to prioritize. And many of you on the call here are from countries that we have chosen to prioritize for a variety of reasons. But overall, there was a huge jump in the number of people who we reached in the campaign. And we also incorporated a second feature, which we hadn't done in the first year, which was to try and do some polling and surveys of how people reacted to the campaign materials, both before and after the campaign. So I think we got a lot of very valuable information, which we used to tweak. I wouldn't say it was a huge change in the campaign between 2019 and 2020, but we are, I think, getting better and better, and we're very hopeful that this year we will continue a very substantial upward climb in terms of the impact of the campaign. I will say a very big shout out to Kenneth here. 2019 won a bunch of international advertising awards, the campaign, which was quite, I think, remarkable given the youth of the campaign. And I learned yesterday that the campaign is also shortlisted for another international award. I guess we'll hear a little bit later about whether it's won or not, but I think people are definitely taking notice. And so big thanks to Oberland, which is an advertising agency that's helped us design the graphics and the themes, and Kenneth, which has played a huge role in implementing and designing the campaign as well. So I want to talk about the toolkit. This is one of the key things that we hope that you will take advantage of to help implement the campaign in your respective areas. You'll see here on the right that it's available in a variety of English languages, including English, Hindi, Spanish, Bahasa Malay, Mandarin Chinese, and French. So, of course, not everybody in the world, but a very substantial proportion of people who I think will be able to take advantage of the materials in these languages. The overall structure of the information we're trying to get to people is there are certain things that we want people to know. These are listed here on the left. Again, very simple messages, because the more detailed information will be on our FAQs, on our website, and whatever information you provide to your local populations in partnership with the campaign. And those messages are that most of us will be infected with HPV at some point in time, that most of us fight it off. So even though it's very common, most people don't get into trouble, but it's important enough that we take care of it, because it does cause problems for this small percentage of people. So the other important thing to know is that we can prevent this. So that brings us to the right side here, which is that there are things that we can do to prevent HPV. Vaccines are a very key part of our message, the safety of the vaccines, and that people in a certain age should get them to have maximum efficacy. We do talk about condoms, not a whole lot, but some, because they do help. And then we also emphasize screening tests for people over the age of vaccination, and also some who've been vaccinated too. So the toolkit contains a variety of different resources for you. There are folders there that have guidelines and messaging. There are campaign logos. There are print posters that you can use. We have created a sort of branding, which includes some of these kinds of images that you see here on the right, and they're typically in purple, because that's a catchy color, I'm told by the communications people. We have patient information materials, social media posts, and we have videos. I'm going to show you one of the videos. We have 3 of these 15-second videos. These are meant to be tweeted, the link to them. They're short, they're catchy, and we want people to spread them and, again, use the link to go and get more information, to contact you, our partners, etc. On top of this 15-second video, when they go to that web link, Ask About HPV, there's a longer video which is more informational. There's a series of longer videos which we think are really great, and I recommend that you take a look at them, but I'll show you what this one looks like. It's not very, again, not very informational. It's really meant to be catchy and to fit with our themes. Give me a chance to have my first sip of coffee in the morning. I'll play it one more time. I'll get one more sip. So this is just one of them. There are, again, 2 other really cool 15-second videos, and the longer videos are also very rich in visuals, music, movement, viral memes, all sorts of things that we believe will capture the attention of the viewer, and then hopefully, again, initiate that conversation. Let's see. So, all that said, on March 4th, we're not only launching the campaign, but we're also launching a new function, an entity called the HPV Hub. This is an entity that we hope will greatly facilitate our working together as partners. It's an online collaboration space to support our collective interest in HPV public advocacy and awareness. The idea is to enable partners to collaborate better through a user directory, partner profiles. It'll enable discussion groups, webinars, collaboration on campaign development. The hub will also enable dissemination of information amongst partners for the toolkit, the campaign guide. It'll give people access to relevant IPVS policy statements. We've weighed in publicly in a variety of different spheres. IPVS, I think, has actually got a very important reputation, obviously, in the HPV field, and the policy statements that we put out, I think, do have a big impact. So these will be available through the hub and a variety of other advocacy resources. We will also be able to provide to our partners an activity report, image uploads for our partners, event registration and map. That'll be coming in 2021. There'll be a calendar of various events, hopefully with information provided by you and other partners. So it's really meant to be the place where we all get together and work on the campaign together. Anita, I don't know if you wanted to add anything at this point about the hub before we go on.
I think that's a pretty good overview of it. The only thing to add really was that for the activity report, some of that was also for our partners and our members who we know pull together really great reports with photographs of the things that they've been doing and then send them to us, and no one else gets to see them. And we really wanted to have somewhere that those could live. So again, a lot of this content that's on the site is going to be generated and contributed by the community.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I wasn't trying to imply that the only activity that we're going to get reported is the campaign, the IPVS campaign part, but rather sharing our respective activities with each other. Because, you know, I'm always astonished and heartened when we do get reports from our partners that we see how many different kinds of things have been happening around the world. Classrooms, lunches, people done dances in the street. It's really something that truly does bind all of us, and I think it's very encouraging to see how people come together with a common goal here, no matter where they are in the world. And I think this is a very powerful statement that we can collectively make.
He's not put us on pause.
There's Ilya.
Yeah,
Ilya, can you hear us? Oh, there's Joel again.
I just got disconnected. I'm back.
To the line, yeah.
Right.
I was out for a moment when you started talking about different languages and dancing in the streets. So something went wrong.
It went dark when I started talking about dancing in the streets.
Exactly.
Yulin was starting to ask a question.
Okay.
When we froze.
Please, Yulin.
Okay. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, because for the year 2018 and 19, so we all did the campaign in China. We sent our report and including many photos and the materials. So just want to make sure you put those previous campaign activity into the hub. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know if Chris or Anita want to comment on that.
No, that's we have those previous activities, and those will go in there so that that's all shared. I mean, really just want as much content in there as possible to help our existing and hopefully new partners to see what's happening and to engage with that. And of course, it will also be accessible to IPVS members. So we're hoping that we can create a bit of a bridge between IPVS members and civil society organizations on the ground in various countries to help give a bit of scientific input and momentum to that activity, which I think is really important.
Okay, good.
Would it be any support in different languages? Because it might be specific for China or Russia or other countries.
Yeah, of course. You know, we recognize that many of the countries we are talking about here are huge and have many languages inside. Another example is India, you know, which has so many dialects. So, and you know, we have unfortunately, you know, limited campaign resources. So we do try and get the most impact linguistically, if you will, with the dollars that we have. But we absolutely encourage our partners to translate the material into whatever dialects we think would be impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as the campaign grows and our resources grow, because they have been growing year by year, you know, perhaps we'll be able to help out more and more with that. We understand how important that is.
Well, and to that, on that note, it's nice to perhaps to mention that this is the first year that we've been able to also provide our materials in Mandarin. So that really increases the size of our target market quite significantly. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
And just a note on the hub, within the hub, you'll have the capacity to set up your own discussion groups. So if it makes sense for you to like network and connect with people in the same linguistic group as you and have a discussion in that language, that is something you should be able to do within that, I'm sure.
Okay, good.
Other questions or comments, feedback?
It seems to me that hub seems to be a nice idea because while we have meetings of International Papillomavirus Society once a year, having something which does not depend on any time, but at the same time allows us to communicate on an everyday basis, that seems to be incredible, I guess. That's a very good idea, and probably they should grow up somehow.
Yes, so I think this is new. I think actually Anita really led the charge on this, and we do expect its functionality to grow. And of course, the more people participate in it, I think the more useful it'll be. Other comments, questions for us today?
We had a different question, which I think was more an HP. I'm looking at the kind of comment. We had a kind of message posting board that goes along with the meeting, which is a question really about screening rather than about the campaign. But I don't know if you want to. There was a question about how effective is TrueScreen for screening.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. That's really a topic for this webinar.
Because there are different opinions about that. There are different experiences. There are a couple of experts in China. There are a couple of experts in the UK who deal with TrueScreen. But I mean, it's one of the opportunities. Although we have something which is proved by WHO, like PAP testing or HPV testing, which is obvious. The other techniques they might have place, but probably it's not the matter of our webinar.
Exactly. Thank you.
Great. Do any of the participants have any comments about the materials that I presented this morning?
Have you had any preliminary reactions on this particular year campaign about viral before internet? What were the preliminary, because you've mentioned that your family is always advising you something, like mine too, which is critical in order to discuss it with friends, relatives, and those close to you. So any preliminary outcomes and opinions about that?
I don't believe we have any polling data on this last viral before the internet theme at this point. We've been discussing amongst ourselves what we're going to be able to do prior to March 4th for this one, but I think we're pretty confident it's going to be well received because it's only a slight tweak from last year's. and last year's, we do have more extensive polling data. We're going to have more research data as March 4th approaches, but probably not a lot of information on the materials before March 4th. But we will be collecting information going forward.
Yeah, I think we did run testing. We did two different types of research last year. We did a piece that was specifically focused on testing the materials around reception, because we weren't, with the change of direction and with our experience in year one with the response to Give Love Not HPV, we really wanted to make sure that we had got something that people understood, and that there was a good positive response to, and that people got the information out of it that we wanted them to get. And I think the indication from the testing of the materials was that came through quite strongly. And as Joel has said, we have, apart from changing some of the graphic and a small amount of the wording around the hook of the program, we've not changed a great deal around the content and the material and the information that we're getting across. So I think we just felt that wasn't something that we perhaps needed to do this year. But we also conducted a large Ipsos Mori project, which was looking far more at levels of HPV awareness and attitudes towards HPV and screening and vaccination. So that's been done. We did pre and post campaign screening on that. We need to have a discussion about whether we'll do some post campaign research again this year, because last year we felt that doing both was perhaps that we had, what we gathered from the second round of opinion research and attitude research wasn't that different from the pre-campaign, because our reach hadn't been big enough to make an impact on the sample size that was being taken. So we just really need to think about how we do that and how we gather data, so that we're researching in the most effective way, in the most useful way, really.
Right, and just to be clear, I think for the post-campaign assessment last year, we weren't really expecting to see big differences, because these were different different people compared to the pre-campaign. But what we thought would be useful would be to have a kind of baseline levels of awareness, so that any future post-campaign testing will be compared to what we got last year. So I think we'll probably end up doing some form of post-campaign testing this year also, just to see if and how we're able to move the dial. This is, it's a very resource-intense activity, and so we're trying to be careful with our resources.
Yeah, if you ask my opinion about the campaign, Give Love But Not HPV, this was extremely successful in Russia. First of all, because love is something symbolic for everyone. And the last but not the least is that 4th of March was before the 8th of March, which is the National Women's Day in Russia. So, for instance, we decided that the flowers would symbolize love. And so a lot of flowers have been distributed to Russian women, symbolizing love. So each woman would definitely take this flower, and she would definitely like to take something else. And after that, she was given this leaflet about the myths and facts about HPV prevention and screening and vaccination.
Well, Ilya, I'm totally with you. but having said that, two things sort of came back to us from that. One was that there's some countries, there's some very conservative countries that simply would not show the campaign because of that word. And so that, if we can't get the information out, it's a bit self-defeating. And then the other, which I guess honestly, none of us had anticipated, was a few comments from some individuals along the lines of, well, you say, give love, not HPV. My partner gave me HPV. Does that mean he or she doesn't love me? Does that mean I'm unlovable? Again, one couldn't have anticipated that, but it's important for us to take that kind of feedback. And I think we're all quite disappointed to have to give it up, because I think we all agree with you, but ultimately our goal is to reach as many people as we can, regardless of how we do it. And so we did tone it down, and I think it was ultimately a successful strategy. I think we greatly increased our reach, even if it wasn't as grabbing an approach as we had the year before. Okay, well, if there are no other comments, I guess we'll wrap this webinar up. Again, many thank yous to you all and for your participation in the campaign. We all remain at your disposal to help you. You can reach any of us by email, and we will do our very best to help you in any way we can. So good afternoon, and what time is it in China, Yulin?
Now it's almost midnight.
Midnight. Okay. Well, thank you for staying up, and have a good.
Okay. I'm fine. And Joe, I have last questions.
Yes.
And for the HPV and Awareness Day, is any headquarter? For example, sometimes we have some, international, global-wise the campaign. We have select some place, some country and some city has the headquarters, like the Geneva, for example. Then because this is the same day, we have the, hand by hand, all global and people and promote the and WHO. I think that Geneva maybe is good place, because WHO launched the global elimination of cervical cancer. Campaign. That is a big task. Now it's many countries now is react that WHO call. So I think maybe
Well, I think that's a good idea, and in fact, Geneva is an appropriate choice for us as well, for the reasons you mentioned, but also it so happens that the administrative home of IPVS is in Geneva through Kennis. So I think I'm not sure exactly. We'd have to think about this, how to operationalize something like that. But if we were to pick a single city to do that, I think Geneva does make a lot of sense. And if you have some thoughts about what you might like to see as part of implementation of a headquarters city concept as part of the campaign, we'd love to hear that.
Okay, because I give you an example in China, because we have the huge land, and so we divide our country as 7 geographical regions. So then we select, for example, this year Beijing has the headquarters, and then we can, at the same time, and all the 7, and the center part of the region, and had the same campaign. So just like last year we have the 7, and the center of the region and cities, like the Chengdu in southwest part of China, and for example, Urumqi is Xinjiang, that's far west, and so something like that. So we will do this way. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something we'll talk about. I think that's great. You were going to suggest.
Okay. Only different. I want to remind this year, because now we have the, and the new corona, the virus, pneumonia epidemic. So maybe in this year, March 4th, Awareness Day, we do not have the big, the mass, the rally. So we have the small size, but we will still want to do this nationwide and 7 regions.
So I completely get what you're saying, Yulin. The one thing I'll say in response to that is that as this campaign is growing, our goal more and more is to make this a year-round campaign. So although the big focus is March 4th, we're planning on making this a year-round activity. And what I maybe suggest to you is that once the epidemic is controlled and fading from public attention, maybe we can take it up with you specifically in China to do something a little more proactive, at the right time.
Okay. Good.
So thank you for bringing that up. It's very important.
Sure.
And best of luck with that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, from our side too, because it's needs to be settled somehow.
Yes. Best of luck to us all on that.
Exactly. But this is a good idea. But this seems to me also a good idea, since Kenneth's headquarters are in Geneva and WHO headquarters also there. Thinking about this global WHO initiative, which is going to happen, I think, in May. At least we could exchange with our views in Barcelona or later on in the hub regarding that matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I think it's time to let Yulin get some sleep, and
Okay.
and appreciate your participation very much. Take care, everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.